Recording.
That looks good.
Hmm?
That looks good.
Yeah.
It's wider angle and
All right, we're
good.
going to start the meeting. Everybody stand for the pledge. Please. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Teresa Santiago.
Dr. Keith Willard, Sean, and Craig Wagner. Thank you. Okay, first on the agenda, we have 2 Hartwood Club Road. It's 2 homes. It's a pre-app. So let's see if you want to come up to the microphone with the podium, please. If you could just state your name and share with us what you would like to do. Thank you.
My name is Akin Olusanya. To Hartwood Club Road. I get to take another house in the property.
Is that on?
Is that mic on there? There's a switch on there?
Okay, let's try that again. What's your name, sir?
Akin Olusanya.
Okay, you're gonna have to spell that.
Okay, easy to spell Akin, A-K-I-N, the first name. N, A-K-I-N, yes. And the last name is O-L-U-S-A-N-Y-A.
Kane.
Yes, that's correct, yes.
So what is it that you wanna do, sir?
Want to build another house on the property. It's 55-acre land property. I'm going to build another house there.
You have a 55-acre parcel?
Yes.
Currently a house on it now?
Yeah,
The house there, yes, there's a house there, but it's too small. I have a large family. I have a triplet and then another kid. You have four children. So the existing house only have a 2-bedroom. So we're living in the city now because due to the room here, we don't have enough room for the children. That's why we plan to move down here from the city, Long Island here, so we can.
I believe that the rule is that you can put a second house on the parcel as long as you put it in a location where the 2 homes could be subdivided into 2 parcels.
Yes.
Because if it's family now, it might not always be. So you might have to subdivide it in the future, so you'd have to pick a location on your property.
There's a tomato field there on the property. There's a tomato field on the property.
Okay,
So that's why we intend to put the new,
okay,
Yeah.
but it has to be a certain distance from the rear property line, from the side property lines, from the other building, things like that. In other words, basically what you'd have to do is you'd have to consult with an engineer or a surveyor, and then they could go to the property and figure out where you wanna put it, and whether or not you can legally put it there. Like I said, I think you can do it without doing a subdivision, as long as you put the new home and all of its things, so the well, septic, et cetera, in a location where you could legally subdivide it in the future. So it might be something that if you have appropriate plans drawn up, you could go straight to the building department for. I don't know that you necessarily have to go back to the planning board, but your consultant could assist you in terms of giving you that direction.
I have my contact orientation.
No, it sounds right what he's saying. Like I said, like Akeem said,
Jeff,
yes.
Want to go up?
Okay.
Yeah, you go to
That's
the-
right.
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. State your name for us and so we can all hear. Thank you.
My name is Jeff Quinn. I'm a Keene's neighbor in Rio. And like he said, he has 52 acres. He has a home out front on Artwood. Plenty of property, good sized field. There's a field where he's thinking about building a house, would like to build a house. You can't even see it from the road at all. It's a flat piece of ground. It used to be a big tomato field, 4 or 5 acres or so in there. But yeah, that's basically what he's looking to do.
How much road frontage does the lot have?
It's quite a bit. His property has a 1/10 of a mile maybe of Hartley Club Road, close to it. Yeah. I don't think the setbacks would be a problem. I don't know what they are, we gotta look into that. But,
He's gonna have to, even if it doesn't require planning board approval, I think he's gonna have to hire, an engineer.
Yeah, he's gonna
Either
get
way,
an
for
architect,
septic and as
engineer.
well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, come
Soil
back and show
test.
us a plan, and then we have a better idea of exactly whether or not he needs planning board approval, or whether he can go directly to the building department.
Okay, the site plan and soil tests and all that,
Yes.
yeah, all right. That's what I figured. Okay.
It's certainly with that kind of acreage, it's probably doable, you know what I mean? We can't say definitively because we can't see it,
Right,
but
right,
it's almost certainly doable.
yeah.
You just have to place the driveway at the right spot,
Mm-hmm.
and then, like I said, the house with the well and septic, so that it's far enough away from the other one.
Could he use the existing driveway? It'd only be the first 30 feet or so before it breaks off to go back to the proposed new home.
He could, he'd have to do a driveway maintenance agreement, even though he owns both homes.
Yeah.
He'd have to have a driveway maintenance agreement,
Uh-huh.
so that again, I mean, the whole concern is that at some point in the future, if he sells one or both of the homes,
Right, it could be
you
a
know,
problem.
exactly, so we try to prevent a problem, or anticipate a potential problem, and fix it before it happens. I would say to you, yes, he could likely use that shared driveway
Shared driveway.
up front, and then go from there.
All right, very good. Any questions?
So from here, so what's the next step, do I think?
You have to hire an engineer.
Architect, engineer,
Or an excellent
engineer,
architect.
what you talked about, Tim Gottlieb, Joe Gottlieb, our neighbors. And, so we need a soil test, and probably a site plan, with setbacks and a survey and all that, everything.
It's a good strategy.
Okay.
So
All right.
then we have to submit it to them?
That's a good question. Submit it to you or go to the building department once we get everything?
Well, you could, once it's drawn up, you could have the consultant submit it to the building department,
Yeah.
and then they may direct that he has to come here, but it'll be largely dependent upon what's proposed.
Right. Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Good luck, sir.
Thank you.
Jeff, who's done that?
Yes, no, that's it. Brad, Brad.
Next on the agenda, we have IPP Solar, Route 209 Solar Array. There's public hearing, comments. So, we're gonna hear comments from the IPP Solar.
For a garage addition. Oh, I'm sorry.
Based on the public
Master
comments.
bedroom addition board.
Yeah,
Talking to the
Al.
daughter.
thank you.
How do you want me to proceed? First, I introduce myself.
Yes, yes,
Okay,
please.
Mazia Delili, I'm one of the principals at IPP Solar. We are the applicant. And I'm here with Joe Hans, who is our civil engineer at Ingalls and Associates, and also Robert Honders, who is the property owner. So we are here about the solar project we have applied for. And so you wanted me to provide my comments following the questions and comments in the public hearing, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will, I guess, make it very short, and then if anyone wants me to go more into details, we can certainly do that, okay? So, you know, there were about, I think, 6 of the neighbors or residents who provided comments, and so I have here a response letter, and I'm gonna just go over that very quickly. So there was a discussion about, or comments about, you know, gas plants or fossil fuel plants versus, you know, solar, and you know, argument was made that solar, that the fossil fuel plants are superior to solar plants because they take less space or they are more efficient. I think.
Can we get this microphone fixed? How many years does it take?
Okay, I will just speak on, okay?
Mike's fine, just put it up.
So,
That's a short.
so, yes, as I was saying, there was an argument made about the fact that fossil fuel.
You just go ahead and forget it.
Shut that thing off.
So argument was made that, you know, fossil fuel plants may be a better type of, you know, power plant than solar plants. Look, you know, I would say that there is no perfect power production facility. There are lots of different ways to generate electricity, and it's part of the energy mix. We can argue about that all day. Ultimately, in our view, it's a policy decision, and we are not here to discuss policies of the state or the federal government. Solar is a permitted use in the town of Deerpark, and we submitted an application accordingly, and that's it. So if there are particular comments about the project, it's, you know, it should be about the project, not whether, you know, solar is a superior or inferior type of energy source. There were a number of other types of questions, and I'm gonna go over those as quickly as possible, so then we can, you know, dive further if you wanted to. But I think, you know, the site work, you know, clearing the trees, you know, we have provided all kinds of information in our site plan, and the soil erosion and water runoff and things like that, a sweep plan. So that was dealt with, and I believe the town engineer has given comments, and we went back, we fixed the number of those issues we had, and it seems that at this point, the sweep plan proposed is adequate, and you know, we should not have any soil erosion and water runoff issues. There were other comments like, I apologize, let me just go over that. Okay, the maintenance, we have our own maintenance team, and we just do the troubleshooting and repairs ourselves. It's very minimal. It's once a month, maybe a couple of hours. So you know, that's a very benign thing. How is the array connected to the grid? It's just connected to the overhead lines on 209, as simple as that, and just no different from any home that is connected to that line. The decommissioning, we have provided, I believe, a decommissioning plan. Not yet, but yes, before, you know, as part of, I think, the building permit package. It's very customary. We do it all the time at other projects. We provide a decommissioning plan and a decommissioning bond. Is part of the process, so that everyone is comfortable that in whenever 30 years, when the plant is at the end of its life, the system is removed and the site is restored back to its original condition. The solar array, I believe, is minimum 500 feet away from the closest home. And the homeowner who is closest hasn't come to this public hearing. I spoke to him, he has no problem with the installation. The way the site is, there is a topo surrounding the solar system on the two sections. So there is no way anyone can see anything. There's very high hills. No one can see anything. No one can hear anything because you have the hills blocking. I mean, the solar system doesn't make any noise unless you're really putting your ear against the inverters. And so no one is hearing anything and seeing anything. So I think, and there is no chance of any electromagnetic field, reaching anybody. And so, so I don't see any health hazard issues. We'll put fencing as is required, a deer fence, so that there is spacing underneath, 1 or 2 feet below the fence, so you can have some animal traffic or wildlife traffic, and making it, as least disruptive as possible to wildlife. So, I don't see any increase in the temperature of the area. Maybe one degree during the day if you are really where the array is. But again, given the long distances to the closest homes, I don't see any impact there. There are no odors, obviously. These are all metals or glass. And again, if we have to do lawn mowing, I don't see how noise can get there. It's just so far away. And somebody asked about the benefit of the array to the residents. Again, provided that we get the approval and we build the system, I'm not assuming anything, we'll have a link sent to somebody at the town who can perhaps help us to disseminate that link so that homeowners can become community solar subscribers and benefit from lower cost of energy at no cost to them. I think we discussed again the replacement of the system. I mean, it's very likely that the system would remain, and in 20 years the newer, more efficient panels will be replacing the existing ones. Again, if that goes through. So that's for that. And I think there were, did you want me to handle also the comments from Orange County, the advisory comments, or?
You can, just for the record, the county submitted a mandatory review of local planning action pursuant to New York State General Municipal Law, Section 259 L, M, and N. It was received by the town on April 26, 24, and that should be submitted and included as part of the record. I believe that's what Mr. Bilali is referring to in terms of what he'd like to respond to. And yes, it probably makes sense for you to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Blatsky. So, yeah, there were a few comments provided by Orange County, advisory comments. So, look, we're doing solar not because we want to, protect the environment. Otherwise, we would go into fossil fuel. So we do what we can to minimize impact. So yes, we will go with a lot of the recommendations as we have done it elsewhere. We have installed beehives. Here it's recommended to put some, some extra boxes for the bats. We'll do that. Those are really easy and inexpensive things to do. So we follow those recommendations. In terms of the tree clearing as I think there was a misunderstanding. We're not clearing 153 acres. We are probably close to 50.
Yeah, more like 60.
Okay, 60 acres. So Yes, that's the sort of the amount of clearing, and so I'll get to the tree replacement in a bit. Um, okay, so there is a recommendation about fencing and the fact that the fencing should be, you know, allowing the wildlife traffic, which is what we are proposing in our application with, what is the name of the, I never able to remember.
It's a woven, it's like an agricultural type fence, so it's a woven
A
wire
barn fence,
Yeah.
that is, you know, because our view is, you know, if somebody really wants to, you can put barbed wires, they're gonna get there, you know, so it's just, you know, so that should be doing it, and we'll have some space underneath, and that way you can have traffic of wildlife.
I'm sorry, when you say some space underneath, how much are you talking?
18
foot.
inches, one, 12 to 18 inches.
So you realize that 12 to 18 inches means that somebody can crawl under it, like a human could crawl under it. Even if that guy like me could theoretically crawl under it, right?
Look, I
Well,
think
it's not,
Easier to climb over.
we're not proposing barbed wire or anything on top, so if someone really wanted to get into the array, they can get into the array. It's more of a deterrent.
I think Orange County is recommending having that spacing.
Orange County recommended 12 inches, which I wouldn't go any higher than 12 inches, because that's still gonna prevent people from entering. But it's high enough that, you know, small animals would have an easier time getting
So,
out.
I mean, look, if you want me to put zero spacing, I can put zero spacing.
I'm just asking the question
Yeah.
because I've never heard that before.
No, yeah, no, fair enough, but like I said, it's in the comments that Orange County provided, so we can put a 12-inch space under the fence so that there is some possibility of traffic for wildlife. And then the commissioning plan is also dealt with in the Orange County, comments, and like I said, we're gonna have a decommissioning plan and a decommissioning bond, as it's very customary for this kind of project. And then regarding the tree, we're proposing to do a sampling of the, do you wanna talk about the sampling? Rather than the survey, we would just do samples.
Yeah, so Ingalls and Associates, we have done several site visits, and we think that based off of the types of trees there, we can do a representative survey of the site versus surveying the entire property to get an idea of the quantity and the types of trees on site. So we're thinking maybe a survey of an acre, a representative acre, and then taking that acre and extrapolating to the 60-acre clearing limits for a rough idea of the types of trees that are going to be cut and quantity and the size.
Yes, and then, again, the replanting, we are open to replant and, do replacement. Actually, the hardest part is not that. The hardest part is to find a place to replant. We have done investigation. We have spent time to try to find, parcel of land. Like, for example, we called the Orange County, I think, Land Trust. They own a very large parcel right next to the Cutterback Lead substation. And we said, can we replant trees on your parcel? And they said, no. I mean, I don't know if there is a way to convince them to do that. If the town has some parcels that you wanna let us plant trees, we'll be happy to do that. So, there is also something else. Replanting trees, what happens, I've learned this by doing this type of project, is that with the growth of the population of deers, that actually is bad for a lot of these forests. So if you you take measures to minimize the traffic of deers, you are able to make some forests healthier and let the growth of local habitats and plants and so on, because the deers go there and they just decimate the local vegetation and things like that. So another also very productive way to mitigate is to help make the existing forests healthier by minimizing the traffic. It could be as simply as putting some fencing here and there, that where the deers cannot move and get there, and that will help regenerate the local plants. So that's our position on the topic.
So, in looking at the responses to the public comments, the three that stand out the most to me, number one is that, you know, there was discussion about decommissioning, so, and we had indicated that there will be a decommissioning plan and there will be a decommissioning bond, but we don't have one yet. So, I think we need to get one to us so that we can look at it, and ultimately,
Sure.
Len is gonna have to review the amount of the bond and make sure it's satisfactory, we'll review it as well.
Absolutely.
So, on the other comment that there's concerns about fencing, does the plans actually show currently that the site will be fully fenced? So.
Yes.
It does, okay.
Yes, it does.
Myself personally, and I'm not in favor of having little kids try to crawl under a fence to protect rodents or whatever might go through there, because this is a facility that has, you know, electricity, high voltage. So, I mean, we can discuss that further, but, the last comment is, that there was a SWIP plan submitted, but we had some comments on the SWIP plan, and you do need to file your ENOI with the DEC, and I thought there was some, back from February, we had some technical comments, more supplemental, I think. We needed to show, water quality volume and runoff reduction treatment, and to obtain the stormwater coverage letter. So, I don't know if that's been done or not on the plan. If it has, I haven't seen it.
I know we are providing runoff reduction volume and water quality volume treatment, for the equipment pads. I think there was some discussion maybe on the access road and whether or not that was porous or impervious, maybe. But I know the SWIP does account for that. And then typically, for the ENLI and filing of the stormwater permit, we would do that prior to construction. That's not something that would usually be done at this stage. I mean, we certainly could, if it was approved.
I mean, if you want it to be a condition of approval, I think we could entertain it, but, most of the municipalities that I've worked in, they do not sign off on site plan approval until the stormwater speedies permit, construction permit has been issued from the DEC.
So you're talking, the receipt of an acknowledgement letter?
Yes.
Okay, okay, yep, yeah, we can take care of that, that's fine.
So, with regards to the other comments, I, you know, don't see anything that you need to discuss further from an engineering standpoint. So, I mean, I don't think the board's really in a position tonight to take any sort of action or make a secret determination. I would definitely recommend that when you come back, that you submit revised plans, submit a decommissioning plan, and go through our comments of February 26th.
Okay,
And just give us an item by item response, because I think we need that information before we can, you know, recommend that the board issue a negative declaration.
understood.
It seems like with the town, the county's recommendation there is at a minimum of 24-inch long piece, 12 inches high, at the base of the fence,
Every 50 feet.
every 50 feet.
Basically, that's talking about for the animals to
get on there.
go through.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's gonna be something for the board to consider. The federal regulations require a 7-foot high fence. There's no reference to barbed wire, and I don't know that there's any specific design requirements. You know, Orange County says, well, if you keep it a foot off the ground, then it'll be 7 feet high. Yeah, I'm not sure that's exactly what they mean. But again, that's something that the applicant can indicate what they think they should do in that regard. And the board can tell them whether or not that's acceptable or not.
We will follow whatever the board wants us to do.
So it's a toss-up protecting people from going in or helping the animals.
I mean, the issue that I have, I mean, I get the smaller animals, that's why you want it elevated. I don't know how that helps in any way the deer. I don't know, I suppose deer could crawl under it too in theory, or they may very well just be able to jump us in the corner.
I'm just curious, I know that terrain is extremely rough, so no matter what fence you put, you're not gonna have it touching ground at every place. It's gonna, I don't know how you put the fence, you grade it, you make a smooth spot for your fence, or how does that work?
That's an excellent point, sir. Yes, you're gonna have, even if you try very hard, I think you're gonna have places where you're gonna have some gaps. Because the terrain is just not, it's not a golf course, it's, you know, it's, the topo there is just, incredibly, you know, unpredictable, so.
So normally you just put a fence on the existing terrain, you do not like
Yes.
do any leveling?
I mean, we can be a little bit more aggressive on the spacing or less aggressive on the spacing. It's just, again, it's a function of what, you know, I just don't have.
Are you planning to grade the area that the array will actually sit on?
Yes. Yes, it will have to be graded because, first of all the stumps need to be taken out, and then we'll have to do grading so that it's, you know, relatively flat within.
There's a tolerance for the trackers, it depends on
There's a
the
tolerance for
brand.
the, yes. And then we'll have to seed it to stabilize it and so on, so.
But we're not proposing like widespread land grading within the array. He's talking about more localized areas where we need to adjust the grade to meet the tolerance of the.
Yeah, cause some
trackers.
areas you just have little humps here and
Or
there.
the property is very rocky too, so you're not gonna be able to go in and like change grade 10 feet.
Yeah.
Is your SWIP proposing to have more than 5 acres of site disturbance at one time?
No, we did a phasing plan, so we prepared a phasing plan for 5 acres. Yeah. Yeah.
How close is the array area, in other words, the area that you're gonna be taking the trees out of? How close is that to any water sources, rivers, streams?
There's one water source on, this is stream 1, we call it stream 1 on our plan here. It's probably a tributary to the Neversink River, but just based off of the scale here, it's at least 500 feet away from the closest point on the array. And on the SWIP and in the site plan, we prepared an erosion and sediment control plan. So anywhere that's gonna be disturbed, you're gonna have perimeter protection in place, either with silt fence or silt sock. So, you know, runoff towards that or any siltation of the stream there is not gonna be an issue.
I was asking actually because Major mentioned in his comments, so I guess somebody raised it, and the county certainly did. It wasn't the temperature of the air that will be impacted by the removal of the trees, but actually they referenced the change in temperature to the water.
Well, we're not clearing any trees within 500 feet of that stream, so I would expect, you know, temperature changes are gonna be minimal, if anything.
That's kind of why I asked the question.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Yep.
So my opinion, I think it's probably more important to have the fence to protect people from going in. I don't know how the board feels about that. The animals dig their little hole.
You know, the county says 12 inches, could it be 6 inches?
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing magic about 12 inches, is there?
It's very, I agree, it's arbitrary, but.
And the nice thing about using the agricultural fence outside, instead of like a chain link fence, is it's a wider gauge too, so you're already gonna have pretty large holes in the fence from just the fence fabric itself, so, you know, the small animals aren't gonna have any issue.
So we should keep it.
What is it made of?
So woven wire, the fence?
Okay, that's the answer.
Chain link?
No, it's not chain link, it's a woven wire, it's like an agricultural fence.
Can you bring a small sample of that so the board can see it before they approve?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I think we can get some.
I mean, I have pictures if you like, right now.
What's that?
I have pictures right now if you want, I can show you.
No, pictures, I mean, pictures do 1,000 words, but being able to touch it and feel it, that's
That's fine.
more, right?
That's fine. I can provide a sample, no problem.
So now I have a question. At one point, somebody said 60 acres to be cleared, is that right? Or is that the total for the whole project?
That's,
Because I thought I heard something, because then I heard 11 something.
I think the county comment was 11, I think they were mistaken. By 60 is the entire limits of disturbance, so that's assuming that all the trees within that area are gonna be cut, if there's any trees in that area. There's already a portion that's been previously cleared, that's within the limits of disturbance, but, you know, rough total will be 50 to 60 acres. It's a good estimate. And I think we have more detailed estimate actually on the EAF.
You account for the access road?
Yes, yeah, because you're gonna.
I guess the reason I'm asking the question is because if you're allowed to do 5 acres at a time, I know that you're proposing this as 2 solar arrays,
Mhm.
but 5 acres at a time, if it's 60 acres, that's 12. So how do you do that?
Well,
Doesn't mean you can do 5 acres this month and then 5 acres next, right?
right,
It's
yeah.
gotta be a break.
Yeah, so, typically that's done either, again, you're still gonna clear in phases, but you're either gonna use hand tools, and you're gonna be careful and make sure you're just cutting the stumps flush with the grade, or pretty close to flush with the grade, and then you're moving the stumps at a later time, once you get to that portion in the phasing plan. Or, you're just, like I said, you're clearing and you're taking the stumps out in one go in 5 acre chunks.
Yeah, the key is to just limit, is the stump removal, that's really the key, so you can, yeah, you do 5 acres, remove the stumps, you stabilize, and you move to the next.
Exactly, so the key is you have to, you can only work in 5 acre increments for stabilization. So once 5 acres, the trees are cleared, because they do make a mess, I've seen them.
Mhm.
They have to go back and they gotta grade it, they gotta seed it, they gotta hay it, so that it's considered reclaimed before they move on to the next 5 acres. So they just can't clear cut and just make a muddy mess out of 60 acres.
That's not what's gonna happen.
Another thing to bring up with the tree clearing, because I don't think it got brought up, either in the public hearing presentation or tonight. This site was flagged for the northern long-eared bat, which is very common in New York State, so they will have to abide by, clearing restrictions on the tree clearing. And the window for that is from November 1 to March 31st, so.
And can
and
you
that's for the
put that,
bats.
make sure that note was on the plan, please?
Yep.
So the comment there, 3 from, the county there, talking about, I guess when there's a 12% grade required, immediate planting, daily watering, and diligent maintenance to ensure speedy vegetation over, protects the area from erosion. So I guess in the areas, that's something that's gonna be done.
We're not proposing that now. Usually if it's a steeper slope like that, we would use some kind of rolled erosion control fabric like blankets.
Okay.
And that would prevent erosion. The array is already being seeded by a native pollinator mix, so, that's the additional environmental benefit.
Did you indicate that you're willing to do replacement trees to the extent appropriate?
Yes, like I said, we need real estate for that, because there is no place to replant trees at the site.
Well, what percentage of this total array is open fields, meadows versus
It's
forestry?
either solar panels or trees. I mean.
No, are you talking about currently or
Existing
currently?
conditions.
Some EAF, I can find the breakdown.
I mean, we're gonna need, some setbacks around the array because of shading issues. The trees are pretty tall, right?
Right.
So, usually the rule of thumb is about 2x, so if you have 100 feet tall trees, you wanna have a 200 feet distance between the trees on the south side of the array and the
Right.
first solar panel, so.
To get the most sunlight to the solar
Yes,
panels.
otherwise you're gonna get shading from those trees.
Right.
So we're gonna have a band of open field, but it's just because of the shading, otherwise it's, we have no other open field outside of.
We're actually, he's not asking what will be there when
What's
you're
there
done.
now? Yeah, it's
He's asking what's
6.2
there
acres
now.
are currently open.
I'm sorry?
6.2 acres are currently open.
Which is practically nothing compared to 60, so what you're trying to tell me is it's entirely forested, pretty much?
Right, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the upper area is really where you have the, that's really where you have the largest amount of clearing, Here you don't really have a lot.
You might wanna take a look at that Orange County recommendation, and see if you can locate some places where you could put trees.
Actually, look, like I said, we have reached out to people in the town of Deerpark. But we have a game plan. Turns out that we have a project in another town right now. We are building it right now in the town of Pleasant Valley. And the planning chair, that town, sits in the board of a land conservancy. So we have developed a very good rapport, and I have in the past reached out to her, so can you help me? There are a few land conservancy organizations who have a lot of parcels, but these are not for profit, and it doesn't seem very simple to even convince them to let you plant trees, So, like I said, I'm gonna reach out to several of those organizations, get some communication, but, if the town of Deerpark has land, we'd be happy to work on that. If you have open space anywhere, we'd be happy to do it. But it's not that simple to find space to plant.
I'm not suggesting that it is simple. Orange County says for every 5 inches of trees you take out, you need to plant a 2-inch thick tree.
Sure.
If there's 50-something acres that you're talking about taking out trees, I'm betting that's a lot of inches of trees. So it's, again, I'm suggesting that you look into that and try to develop a plan.
Sure.
Maybe you can figure out how to plant a 2-inch tree for every 10 inches of, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we're not wedded to the Orange County recommendation, But planting trees globally, planting trees in Pleasant Valley helps us here. But realistically, I think they're looking for something closer. Maybe the Orange County Land Trust or the Nature Conservancy, those are organizations that have dirt in this area that may cooperate with you. I don't know.
One question that I'll let you to think about is, if I found, a location, let's say in Westchester, would that be acceptable?
You just asked about Pleasant Valley, it's the exact same situation,
Correct.
right? Globally, is it beneficial? Yes. Does it help us here in Deerpark? I don't know. So, listen, if that's the best you can do, present it.
Sure.
Best case scenario, the board says, sure, that's fine.
I will reach
Best
out.
case scenario, they say no.
I will reach out to the town supervisor to see if the town has any real estate. And then and I look at other locations, I'll let you know what I find, but.
Again,
Yep.
I get it.
It has to be, it can't be private property, somebody that has private property there.
Well, I don't know that that's the regulation.
Uh,
I mean, if there's a private property owner who would like some extra, who wants some trees, they're willing to let them go, yeah. I don't see a
Chairman.
problem. I don't personally see a problem with that, it's up to the board.
May I say something?
Yes, sir.
These are not mandatory, they're recommendations. We don't have to do what the county says. There was hundreds and thousands of acres that were field down here that God has planted naturally and let go. So this is not mandatory. We don't have to talk for hours on this. This is not something that we have to, unless it's mandatory. It's not mandatory. These are suggestions, remember that. So we don't have to, you can do what you want. I'm just saying, it's not a mandatory thing.
Okay, well, I guess, see if there's some options that you can find.
Yeah, look, we are not, we're doing solar because we like the environment. If we can do something about it, we'll do it, definitely. I'll get back to you. And we'd love to have, knives and the bats and, we'll take some measures, even if you guys don't impose it on us, we do things like that, you know. We have done it in the past. I can point to.
Just to reiterate, when you come back, whether it's 2 weeks, next month, 2 months, 3 months, to just give us a response to the county planning, whatever your proposal, whatever you would like to do, however you'd like to comply, or if you feel it's not necessary, so that we have some sort of documentation that says we've addressed it, because even though it's not mandatory, they still are required to at least look at it.
Sure.
And as well as our comments of February 26th.
Yep.
You like those?
Yeah. I have other comments.
Okay. Now, given the information that you still have to provide, are you willing to extend the planning board's time within which to render a determination beyond the 62 days after the public hearing is closed?
I mean, we'll do whatever is, you know, is right.
Well, you have the right to have a determination within 62 days.
You mean
If
ask
you-
for a vote
if you-
essentially, right?
If you waive that, well, no, you have a right to have a determination within 62 days. If the planning board takes no action, you're guaranteed a yes. I can guarantee you that we're gonna be back here before 62 days, and if you don't extend the time, then my recommendation to the planning board is to deny your application. So I'm asking you to consent to the additional time that might be necessary, so you can provide us the additional information, so that perhaps you can get to yes.
Sure, we'll be happy to comply, provide you with all the information that the town engineer has asked for. And, you know, we will follow those recommendations. At the same time, and we have done this before, a lot of times, it's also, some of these can be done as, you know, as a condition. Conditional approvals have been granted, and, you know, to the extent that the board feels that this project is meeting the threshold. So, you know, like, for example, the decommissioning bond, and we've done this before in other towns where, yes, it's a condition to the approval, to getting the building permit, and, you know, I'm just saying that's.
So the answer is yes, you agree to waive the 62-day requirement, is that your answer?
Did you just say yes?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do we have any actions that we on this, or just gonna?
Not
Okay, not tonight.
For the comment, okay. All right. So any comments from, anybody from the planning board? Further comments? Okay, thank you.
So, what is the next step?
Next
We just
step
have
is to
provide
come back and
responses.
submit a revised
and
plan
then you let
for
us
our
know.
comments and the county comments.
Okay, and then you let us know. Okay,
Yes.
fair enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have, we need to, on the agenda here, reschedule the Eddy Farm, PH Eddy Farm, Eddy Farm, to June 26th. We need somebody to make a motion to reschedule the, it's a public hearing, right?
Read some O's, I'll second.
All in favor?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. The next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from May 22nd. Second? I'll second. All in favor? Yes. Yes. Any comments, John?
No, sir, I'm good.
Mr. Shock, Mr. Ricky, anything?
No, just that's the point. I used to chop corn down here a lot for Eddie Hofstee, and it was beautiful fields. It just saddens me to see all the trees that grew up on these beautiful fields that once were here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't mean we go rape all the trees either, I understand that, but there's a balance here that we have to be mindful of protecting children over rabbits. That's, I imagine there's a law that says about what they have to be.
I mean, the only time I've ever seen the special type of fencing is when there's threatened and endangered species like rattlesnakes that are identified on the property, and they need to be able to get out and get in, so, things of that sort, but to just blanketly change the the animals will move to another location, so, I'm not in favor of, cause, kids find a 12-inch, they're gonna go in it. That's what they do, so.
Yeah.
John, there is a code for electrical fences around these, I would think.
And again, yeah, on those sites, it's, it's not a high voltage type of facility, which this is, so, I'm not in favor of trying to do that.
I agree.
That's all.
I've seen pictures of Adam Morris, right, it was like in the 1820s.
The trees are unavoidable impact. It's in a wooded area, the trees have to come down. The good news is that when the arrays go up, it takes a little bit of time, but the undergrowth is fully vegetated. So it's not like, it's 50 acres of roofs or pavement or impervious surface, it does revert back to vegetation. When the rain hits the array, you roll off of it, and if you look any array that's been in existence for a year and a half, it's fully vegetated underneath. So that, except for the road access way, that's permanently,
Vegetation would be the issue, not necessarily trees, correct?
When they do the calculations, again, it doesn't apply to construction. During construction, there's kind of a mess, but when construction is complete, the curb runoff numbers associated with the trees versus the grass vegetation is approximately equal. It might even actually be a little bit less with fully vegetated grass.
Right.
So the actual amount of runoff may actually be less after the array is built than it is with trees, because underneath the trees there's a lot of bare soil, there's leaves where the water rolls off. So in terms of water quantity and storm water, it may be actually less. However, road areas, they have to be treated because they're impervious, and you have a mile and a half of it, that's 2 acres of road, so they're required to provide stormwater treatment for those areas. That's per the DEC guidelines of like 2 years ago, so I don't know if they've changed since then, but they issued a guideline because of so many of these are going in.
It's one thing to plant a tree, it's another thing to grow a tree. You can plant 1,000 trees in one night, the deer will eat half of them, so, so what you do, go back and replace. Once they're done, you've met your obligation, so planting is different from
Just a
having a
little
mature.
side note, I delivered 2 tanks that over Mount Hope, and they're putting in houses. Each homeowner has to have a little pond that costs about $10,000 with special shrubs in it, and they are required by DEC to maintain this little pond on their 15 lots so that it doesn't run into the swamp that is really as close as the river. They have to put this, I was just,
You might be referring to rain gardens, is that what you're
Yeah.
referring to?
Yeah, my
Yeah.
brother had a pool, it was about 12, 15.
through an old farm field, they have to, the very bottom down there, put a little rain garden in down there.
Yeah.
At the end of this beautiful field, and it's costing each one of them homeowners next to 10 grand, cause the builder's gotta do it.
Yep.
It's, it rained on that field for 8,000 years, but now it's gotta have a rain garden in it, it just gets,
I did one job where it was 7 lots and they had to do a rain garden, and the guy paid me to go back to the town and just modify the drainage plan portion to do stormwater infiltrators. So at least you don't see them. So, cause that is an accepted method for DEC is infiltration as opposed to the rain gardens. So, I mean, it was 7 lots at 70,000, and he's like, this is killing me, and it looks ugly to some people.
and he told me the homeowner's required to maintain it,
Yeah.
or they can be fined by the DEC. People don't think about maintaining their rain garden at the end down in the woods, you just have to tell them about that, Just FYI.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Yes. Okey-dokey.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, have a good night.